We'll move on and we could talk about West Ham United, Pete, because there's been some links with Reiss Nelson, Arsenal winger. Can you give an update on that for us, please, and what his current valuation is in today's market?
Yeah, this one I think has got a real chance of happening. There's been talks between West Ham, Arsenal and Nelson to see if there is a potential for a deal to be done here. I think he ticks a lot of boxes for West Ham. He's a young English player. He can play anywhere across that forward line as well as a wide player. He's shown glimpses of what he can do at Arsenal, but he just hasn't had enough opportunities in the last maybe 18 months or so under Mikel Arteta. He's under contract until 2027 at Arsenal, so you're probably looking at a fee of around 20 to 25 million for Reiss Nelson as well, and that'll be good business by Arsenal because being a homegrown talent, he will represent pure profit when you look at the PSR calculations and everything else. And I think for West Ham, bringing in another wide player will boost the squad as well. So yeah, I think it's a good deal for all parties involved here. West Ham are looking to strengthen their attacking options, and Reiss Nelson, as I said, I think he'll be a hungry player hoping to prove a point to Arsenal if he does end up leaving the club to join West Ham as well. So I think under Julian Lopetegui, he could possibly fulfill his potential that he has shown in glimpses at Arsenal.
Paul, what do you make for a potential move if he is to go from North London to East London? And would he be a guaranteed starter every week? What would Lopetegui potentially tell him going into the club? Is he likely to play every week?
Well, he's getting an opportunity, isn't he? I mean, his opportunities have been few and far between at Arsenal, and he's become part of the squad. I mean, Arsenal are recruiting because they want to compete for the Premier League, the Champions League, and that's the squad strength. In a similar vein to Eddie Nketiah, there's talk about Eddie Nketiah's future all the time because he's in a similar place to Reiss Nelson. He's not going to start every week. He's a very, very good player who would go elsewhere and play. And that's the opportunity that Reiss Nelson's got now, to go to West Ham, to have an opportunity. Pete said he can play anywhere in the front three behind the main striker. If needed, could play as a false nine. But it gives him an opportunity of playing every week. Nobody's guaranteed a starting vein anywhere at any football club. But actually, when you look at the Arsenal squad, you look at the players that are coming in, they're taking it to the next level. These opportunities are getting fewer and fewer. But for him to go to somewhere like West Ham, he's not guaranteed, but he's almost guaranteeing himself a lot more game time. But he's certainly giving himself the opportunity, if he performs to a level where he will play most weeks.
Pete, do you think if that deal is to happen with Reiss Nelson, if the negotiations are quite smooth and it's all pretty plain sailing, could we see them go after Nketiah? What would his valuation be? And then what would he potentially bring to the club?
For West Ham?
Yes.
I'm sure he's on the list at West Ham. I don't think he's pretty high up, but they're looking at other striking targets. As we've spoken about, Jon Duran and Alexander Sorloth seems to be the name that West Ham are looking at right now. But yeah, as Paul's mentioned there, I think Nketiah is exact same situation as Reiss Nelson. If he's looking at his own personal career, is he going to get opportunities next season for Arsenal? Highly unlikely, especially with talk that Arsenal are looking at number 9, so that would push him even further down the pecking order at the Emirates Stadium as well. So I think for the good of his career, probably it is at that stage now where he has to move on in search of regular first team football if he is to really fulfill his potential. Again, he won't be happy with the lack of minutes that he's getting. So there's been talk that Marseille are interested in signing Nketiah this summer. I think it's a difficult deal to do for Marseille due to the price tag. You're probably looking similar to Reiss Nelson, if not more. So probably between the 25 to 30 million pound mark for Nketiah. And again, a bit like Reiss Nelson, it looks like it could be good business by Arsenal because of the price tag, the PSR situation, and it would boost Mikel Arteta's transfer kitty as well and allow him to go out and maybe spend big money on a big marquee number 9 signing or a wide forward as well, which the club are looking at. So yeah, I think it could be a win-win situation for everybody. Nketiah could move on and get his career going by moving to a new club, and Arsenal get a decent transfer fee for him as well.
One other name, Pete, that's popped up quite a lot is Jean-Clair Todibo. Sounds like a deal might be underway with West Ham. Have you got an update on that for us, please? And what would he bring to Lopetegui's side? Is he a guaranteed immediate starter if he is to join?
Yeah, there was optimism that West Ham could get this deal over the line earlier this week, but it seems now that a deal could be off the table because the player himself is holding out for Juventus to sign him, and he's waiting for the Italians to agree a deal with Nice. West Ham had agreed a deal club to club, and they were hoping to persuade Todibo to make the move to the London Stadium, but it does seem that Juventus are in the box seat to sign him, which is a blow for West Ham because he would have been a big signing for them. Todibo was close to moving to Manchester United this summer. They were keen to sign him. The Ineos ownership, who also own Nice, were hoping to bring the Frenchman to Old Trafford. We weren't able due to UEFA rules, due to their ownership of both clubs. Todibo, he had a great season for Nice last year. A very talented player on the fringes of the French squad as well. So yeah, getting him and Max Kilman in the same transfer window would have been huge for West Ham, because that looks like your centre back pairing sorted if that was to be the case. But it looks like West Ham might have to look elsewhere to bring in another centre back, as it does seem Todibo has got his heart set on a move to Juventus, and the Italians are primed to sort of firm up their interest with an offer to Nice.
And Paul, to wrap up, looks like Flynn Downes is set to move to Southampton. What do you make of that for the club? And is it fair that fans are disappointed that he'll be leaving, given the potential talent that's been on show in previous seasons from Downes?
I think we're seeing a lot of that, though, aren't we, this season? We talk about the FFP and the PSR on this podcast quite often, and it's not just that. It's a lot of clubs we're seeing player trading with very, very good young players that have shown huge potential. Obviously sold for a big fee because of the homegrown talent rule, and I think it just falls into that bracket. And you can understand fans' frustrations and you can understand fans' disappointments, because it's not just the 50, 60, 70, 80,000 who turn up every week to watch the first team. There's a hardcore nucleus of fans who love football clubs, and they watch the youth teams. They watch players develop. They see players come through the 18s, through the 23s, and they support the club. They don't just support the first team. They support the football club, and they keep an eye on the results at all levels. And they see these players coming through the academy, and they see these players maturing to the point where they're getting to the first team level and about to break into the first team, showing huge potential where you think could have a real impact. And then because of these FFP and PSR rules, players are having to be sold for big fees, so you can understand fans' frustrations.
You've just watched a segment from Football Insider's brand new podcast, The Inside Track, with me, Lewis Pearce, alongside the guests on the show. Thanks very much for tuning in. Please do give the video a like, comment your thoughts on the topic, and feel free to share on your social media pages. If you want to listen to the full podcast episode, click the link in the description below. Keep your eyes peeled for plenty more content and exclusives here on The Inside Track.